What you know, Alibuyers? Hope you guys are having a good day. It is Tuesday, February 17th. Wanted to give a very quick update on where we stand today in the Nancy Guthrie investigation. But first, if you missed my interview with Lieutenant Ray Hermosillo from the Lori and Chad Daybell case, go check it out. He gives some really amazing insight into what it's like to work a case that's being watched on a worldwide stage. He was the lead investigator in that case. And he gave a lot of insight into things such as if they have additional footage from the house from surveillance, why would they not release that? He talks about how they vet tens of thousands of tips. And he also talks about what it's like for investigators who are boots on the ground just investigating this case and the toll it takes on them. And we talk about a lot more. And he's going to come back on at some point. We were talking we may make this a regular thing. So what's new? Sheriff Nanos told KVOA that between the sheriff's office and the FBI, they've had between 40 to 50,000 tips. And as far as the investigation goes, the sheriff said they had around 400 people working on this case. Yesterday, Brian Enton reported that investigators are going to gun shops in Tucson with a list of 40 names and 40 photos, showing those to the employees there and asking if any of these people have been in the store or bought a firearm. So you can see this search is really starting to expand out, and a lot of this very, very tedious work. The best case scenario is either this DNA is a direct hit that leads to a suspect, or somebody calls in a tip that's valid that leads to Nancy and or her abductors. As far as the DNA from the glove found on the road, we know there was an unknown male profile in there. And we talked about this yesterday. It's 50-50 at this point, whether or not it's related to this case. We also know they found unknown DNA in the home that was not Nancy's or anybody's close to her. So I'm sure they will be checking all the DNA they've gathered in this case that is foreign. And the FBI is waiting on the results to come back from the Florida lab that the sheriff sent the sample to. And then from there, they have to do their own quality control before they can load that into CODIS to see if by chance they get a hit on who was the source of that DNA. A lot of analysts and ex-FBI agents have been on some of these talk shows saying that this was a terrible idea to send this sample to Florida because it's eaten up several days, to where if it had went to Quantico, they could have developed the sample and run it through CODIS. But as of last night, it was questionable whether or not they had actually gotten the sample, but it was said they had not run it through CODIS. And once you run it through CODIS, you can get a hit very quickly, or it can take some time to weed through all of the samples in that database. For example, there are 24 plus million total DNA profiles in CODIS. 22 plus million of those are offender and arrestee profiles. And then 1+ million are forensic profiles from crime scenes. And it also contains hundreds of thousands of missing persons and unidentified human remain profiles as well. So what if they don't get a direct hit? There is the chance that this unknown profile could hit on relatives, and that's what's called familial searching. It's kind of like genetic genealogy. That would give a list to the FBI of potential relatives of the source of the DNA, and then they would use specialized software to rank candidates based on the genetic similarity. That's typically used for serious or violent crimes when a direct match is not found, and that's where we are. But it's not a standard automatic function of CODIS nationwide. If there's not a direct hit, typically to do familial DNA, that's conducted at the state level under very strict policies, while the FBI CODIS system primarily searches for that direct match. A familial match is considered an investigative lead, not evidence. So, law enforcement would need to use traditional investigative methods to identify an actual suspect and then obtain DNA directly from a potential suspect for a one-on-one comparison. So today, that's the biggest thing we're hoping to hear about is this DNA testing. Was there a match? Did it identify somebody? Or is it going to have to go further and maybe get a familial DNA hit? And then there's just going to be some more work to be done after that. I feel like at this point, the most ideal situation would be either that direct DNA hit or somebody with credible evidence that calls in a tip that leads to the abductors and or Nancy. But then again, we know probably 5% of what's going on behind the scenes. I am on standby to go live if there is breaking news. So make sure you're subscribed and you click that little bell icon for notifications. Or if something comes out that we don't know about yet, but doesn't really warrant a live, I will do a YouTube short. But that is it for now. I hope you guys have a good rest of your afternoon, and we will see you soon.